Hey guys, and welcome back to Trekyards. I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Connor Cockings, and I'm not going to make a joke because the ship is
A joke.
Yeah, possibly a joke concept. This is. I think it's fair to say one of the most interesting conceptual ships, possibly in Trek.
Right. Yes. Today we're looking at the Cleave ship from Battle of the Binary Stars, the one that killed the Europa.
So this is a knife ship, Stuart.
Do you say nice or knife?
Knife. Well, it's probably nice for Klingons, I'm sure. So this is a licensed model, not the big model, but it's a licensed model, so all the proportions are right, details are right. So what did you think, Stuart, in Season 1 when this thing appeared? Is this what you thought it looked like? And then what do you think of the design overall?
I wasn't, like you said, you didn't get much of a sense of what it looked like on screen. You saw a little bit of the Cleave, the part where it decloaked as it hit. But I thought it was an interesting premise for a ship to have a battering ram. I mean, that goes back to ancient sea ships and things like that had them built on. Never really considered it in Star Trek. It's interesting if it's a cloaked ship because you can get right behind somebody and just fire through them. So interesting premise. Didn't really expect it, and not really super impressed with the design now that I've seen it. Could have been a lot better, and it's not really a honorable way to kill somebody, I don't think. I mean, it fits the Klingon aesthetic for Season 1 of Discovery for some reason, because there's blue windows and things.
Really massive windows. So I'm confused by the idea of this ship. Normally, if you invent something this important, it means something. You know, it takes out this Europa. Great. Unfortunately, the Europa's warp core explosion, self-destruct, the fact that you've destroyed the ship, the warp core explosion destroys this ship too. So it's a one-use ship
It's a one-hit wonder.
It's absolutely ginormous. At that point, Tukuvma had limited cloaks because there wasn't a thing yet. And so this was the other cloaked ship. And so this was a Tukuvma's ship. I guess maybe as ancient as his ship, probably not. But as a concept, it seems so flawed because as soon as you crash into something, it just warp core explodes, you're dead. And there you go, that's 8 months of building this ship. And imagine how much raw material it took to build this big knife. I mean, what's really the practical point of this ship? It doesn't seem like a spacefaring strategy, and certainly not a Klingon strategy when torpedoes would do the job better.
You know what it feels like with the way that this is kind of textured and the way that it got that cathedral-like window at the back. It feels like this is a ship that should be docked to the sarcophagus ship and used as an auxiliary craft as a weapon. So it actually employs the same cloak because it's part of the same ship, right? It just got a smaller cloaking device on board or something. That I could see because he didn't have a big fleet, as you said, and he didn't have a lot of cloaks at the time, which were later handed out by Corps to the different houses that followed him. So was this a standalone ship, or was this an auxiliary craft or a weapon that was attached to the sarcophagus ship? Anyway, regardless, I think it'd be better as that kind of ship that was actually part of the sarcophagus ship. We just never saw it attached. It does have that ancient, feel and texturing that the sarcophagus ship has. So maybe it was just found with the sarcophagus ship, just a different part of the fleet. I don't know. And
it speaks to a more ancient battle technique where shields aren't as effective, warp cores aren't as big. If one modern ship can destroy it whole cloth, this is a rubbish design. Whereas if ships are big, like sarcophagus ship, it's got a single forward weapon. But if this thing, but it's so massive that if you just cut through parts of it won't explode. Whereas if you cut into the middle of a Federation ship, it's going to warp core explode and destroy it. So a bigger ship with more limbs, as it were, cut through them makes more sense. So I can imagine it being, in that same generation of ultra uber ancient ships, where actually this would be an effective ground assault vehicle, despite it being absolutely enormous. Because if it has got shields, we can sort of assume it does. You can imagine it, descending into the atmosphere and just slicing through the ground and just destroying cities. I mean, that sounds like an ancient Klingon strategy. The sarcophagus ship is a big torpedo platform with lots of space to put armies that can then shuttle down, and this is the big, anti-ground death slicer, which can just destroy cities. Yeah.
Well, you bring up an interesting point with the whole having shields. Does it have shields? And in fact, would they impede the use of the blade? Or do they only shield the upper part? Or you could not even need the blade necessarily if you have shielding, because you can refine your shield matrix to have the shield become a point at the front. And essentially the cleave itself is the shielding system. So that's an interesting point.
Well, a shield,
I don't know.
A shield would cause kinetic damage. This would cause actual penetration damage. So, so it's a little bit different style attack. But you're right. I mean, what is this blade made of? Is a high-end phaser, could it pierce it? I mean, if it's so strong it can survive anything, why isn't every ship armored with it? If it's just like titanium in the blade, then just heat it up, blast through it, destroy it.
Super rare.
Well,
but I guess that leads us to our next question. How big is this thing?
Oh, it's really big.
Because I didn't get the impression it was very big at all. I mean, from what we saw of it, which was not very much, the Europa is not a huge ship.
Now, this is the conceit of Discovery, though. All their ships are supersized, with the base reason being that Discovery, the designers want to have a window in the front. When they put a window based on an appropriate size, with the first original design of Discovery, they said it looked silly because the entire bridge dome was a window. So they had to upscale the Discovery to make the window look correct. They upscaled the Discovery to a massive scale, bigger than design Johnny was ever intended it to be, and then to make every ship look opposing to that, everything had to be scaled around it, which then meant that everything super scaled as well. And because the sarcophagus wanted to be huge, everything else had to be big around it, otherwise the Klingon ships would look silly. So everything kind of escalated, despite them looking in scale with each other. Mm-hmm. The entire era is this weird, basically ignore it in a sense, but also we've got the Eagle Moss scale chart, which gives the exact length, and this is what the CBS license legal, is. So we can only judge it by what they give. So Stuart, the next picture is the scale of the Klingon Cleave ship, as in reference to the D5, the best Klingon battleship about 80 years ago. The TOS Connie, as seen in about 7 to 10 years, canon scale, and the Enterprise E, as seen 100-something years in the future, the premier battleship of its time.
I'm not surprised. It is pretty big. I mean, for a battering ram, you would want it to be big. You want it to be thick. You would want it to be something that can take a lot of damage. So if you're taking out smaller ships, because there's smaller ships on the opposing side at the time, fine. Bigger is better, I guess, for a battering ram. But when you compare it to the sizes of all the ships in Discovery, it's not very big. It's the same size as everything else. So,
but facing ships, D5 is, like I said, premier battleship of its past. I mean, it can outmaneuver this ship, surely. I mean, a battering ram needs to be able to actually cause contact with kinetic force.
But it's cloaked, so they can't see it to run away from it.
Could it always cloak? I mean, it's a bit of a stretch to say Takuma had cloak for 80, 100... I mean, we have no idea. They didn't actually explain how or why Takuma had cloaks. They completely ignored that, which is, I would think, a bit of a strange conceit, Stuart, given we know that cloaks don't exist in the Klingon Empire until, 12 years later. But now you can see that the windows, the big blue things, which are obviously visually meant to be windows, are in fact absolutely giant. I mean, they are warehouse-sized. They are stained glass, skyscraper windows that, honestly, they're the weak spot. Shoot a torpedo in through the windows. I mean, you can literally fly shuttles, fighters. They are massive. If they're windows.
Which we assume they are, because they do look like cathedral windows, as we've said.
But as we know, the bird of prey from Discovery has all these weird blue things that clearly can't be windows.
But as we know, with size, a lot of times perspective changes when you look at it from a different angle.
So it does have a big blade, and we can't see the big blade. So let's see the big blade.
So let's go to this. Oh my God, there it is. Look at that. Would you look at that? Just look at it.
And as you can see, I threw in a Vorcha, which is the premier battleship in about 80 years. The biggest, most powerful warship of its time in the Klingon fleet.
Damn, that's a big ship.
Big blade.
And if those are windows, you get another sense of scale from the side of them, for sure, when compared to the other ships. So how much weaponry does this ship have? Does it have anything? And what kind of crew do you need for a battering ram ship? You think it would be very minimal crew, so you wouldn't need a very big ship per se. You do need something to power the blade and drive it through things. I get that. But it just seems like there's too much there's not enough engine, if any engine. It'd be cool if that whole back spine was like a nacelle almost.
Well, that's the thing. Where's the warp engines? Where's the impulse engines?
I can't see either.
And I didn't even consider that until right now. But, I mean, that's why I think it might double down to your suggestion of it might just attach to the sarcophagus ship. Clearly, that's not the way it's been presented, although the Cleave ship is coming out in the next couple of months for Eaglemoss, so maybe that was part of it. I mean, that would certainly add some credibility to the design if they said it's part of it, because it's like, oh, it's the uber epic, blade of it, like a Megazord, blade out.
Well, yeah. And with the sarcophagus ship, you can see it like sliding in backwards into a slot underneath and have the blade on the bottom of the sarcophagus ship.
Yeah.
To be launched as needed. That would be brilliant. I would love that. I don't think that's the case.
I mean, it's a terrible design, but it's brilliant. Like it's both at the same time. But seriously, there's so much internal volume here. What on earth is filling it? I mean, there's no.
Because the heavier it is, the more it'll cut through. That's the logic there.
Because would it make sense to put your entire army on the ramming ship?
If you're gonna ram into another ship, create a hole and like get the offload ramp in the other ship, then yes. But the way this is designed, that absolutely would not happen. Because you couldn't just ram a larger ship with that forward section because the blade doesn't even hit until later. I mean, if you want to use it for that purpose, there'd have to be a different design altogether. Let's look at the front of this ship for a second. Again, another sense of scale.
Oh,
and I noticed from the top too, it has kind of like, it looks almost like a whale.
Yeah,
it looks like some kind of mammal design. Here, I get the same kind of feeling, some kind of maybe insect at this point, but it even has like a little face on the front there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think those things at the side might be the impulse engines, possibly.
It would slicey. Slice 2 of the 3 of these ships in one slice, if it was coming at you. But into small perspectives to understand more in 3D. The next view, and this is where I had considered since day one that the left-hand side was the front. Yeah. Because to me it felt like that was the momentum of that just made sense to me flow-wise, which way it was going. So when I did the original renders last year, 2018, I did this way around, and you were like, it goes the other way, and I'm like, really?
Yeah.
What? Did you see why I would think that it would go this way?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. And a lot of times when we do look at ships for mission briefings and stuff, I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if it was facing the other way?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times the designs just flow, they go both ways. This way I can see why you would think that, and it almost seems like a key of sorts that would slot into something. That's why I said it would work perfectly to be part of the sarcophagus ship. It would have to back in though, which is fine. It looks almost like a luxury yacht kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it could. You got the main section at the back there, but
these epic grand windows. Yeah. But now you can see the sticking out bits with the red, and there's a slightly close up later on. But there's nothing glowing facing backwards. But there are a few details which could be guns. I mean, they certainly imply guns, aft weapons. But I'm just trying to work out, there are no visible weapon emplacements on this ship. There aren't turrets. The detailing is a low geometry model, but all the detailing just like HR guy like pipes. It's all very, we need this to fly rather than look, we've got turrets.
Well, the things at the side there, they almost look like they should pivot and they should have guns on them so they can point down at the Cleave and actually fire into the damaged hull of the ship.
That'd be cool
to help.
Yeah,
that would be cool. And also, as for engines, it could be that those windows that we've been talking about are in fact impulse style engines because they're mounted in the positions that would work for that. Especially if you want a lot of thrust for impulse to get that slicing blade through something. They're big enough, Oh, well, they're huge, but anyway,
pretty ornate. Next picture is from the back. I do like the texture on the blade though. It's rugged. It feels cool. I like how it's integrated onto the ship. It very much feels like they could, just jettison it like a disposable razor. Right, Jerry. Let's put in the new Cleave blade.
The new sharp one. Well, that could be the case too. It could be the case too that you impact the hull of the other ship and release it, fly over the ship, and leave the blade sticking in as damage.
The blade 9 times the length of your ship. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it looks like those are all clamps that just lock on. So I'd be down for that.
The issue with a lot of these ships is if this was a, any design can work in concept if you think it through. I would love to have seen the Enterprise guys with John Eves, Pierre Droulet, and those guys. Someone say to them, right, we want a Klingon knife ship that's designed to ram. It's got a cloaking device, or it can't have a cloaking device, I guess, in that era, but, it's got some sort of, refraction field, very, very inferior, it's designed to stay still, and then it, fires this big knife, and it's really just the size of a nacelle of a whatever, but the knife's edge is razor thin, and it's starting to just, fire these one-use blades. Would be really interesting, much smaller, because if you can use this, like we see with the Valdor wing fly-off in Nemesis, one bit of kinetic damage can lower the shields from 70 to 30, so you imagine if there were 10 of these, all much smaller, firing these very thin blades, and it can, cut through a nacelle, boom, ship's lost warp drive, cut through a neck, boom, it's lost, you could do a lot of damage, just not this big or in this form, I don't think quite works.
And I can even see, instead of being clamps, those things holding on the blade. If you go to the next picture, I can almost see the blade being on like a rail system that could be launched.
Yeah.
Just release those clamps and launch the blade forward. Absolutely.
Then it's enough.
Then you change a ship that doesn't make any sense into something that actually works as a weapon. Or, that being said, if you slice into a hull with that blade, I do like the idea that those parts that stick out are turrets that can pivot down and cause more damage with, like, phasers or disruptors into the hull that's already exposed. Like, that's brutal.
And then, if those red things were thrusters, you can imagine you're stuck in a hull, you're shooting, and then you move to the side, and now suddenly you're pulling apart the hull, and then the other side, and now you're, it's, like, that's really interesting. It's not the premise is bad, it's just the execution is bad. It seems like such a weird thing to design, hire a modeler, have it be fully cloaked for its scene except the blade, destroy it in the same scene. That's a lot of money for a gimmick which could just be done by another ship just crashing into it. You know what I mean? I don't know why you would write that moment.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons I think it could be part of the sarcophagus ship. Kind of like a one-use kind of thing, and we never saw it attached because it was already cloaked, waiting and hiding in case it was needed.
It's like Captain's Blade rather than a Captain's Yacht.
Captain's Yacht, yeah. Well, it's Klingon. They value their blades, their mechless and their batleths, so.
Which is why it makes sense to have a ship blade.
Sure. The Batleth of Kalis is the name of this ship.
Kalish. Go on, season 1, Kalish.
The Batleth of Kalish.
I do like that this front view, the bridge, while no visible windows, while no visible bridge, or any area that would imply any function, I do like the fact that it's got head ridges, I like that detailing. It doesn't, it again feels uber old, uber sarcophagus-y. It's got prongs at the front. They really need a bridge, really need windows. It's weird the priorities the team did in season 1. It's really strange.
One thing that I did notice on the front, the things that come down, they almost look like ammo belts that are feeding into the front, which is the little gun thingies or antennas. That's what it looks like to me at first glance from the one shot, but no real visible weaponry of any kind, nothing. It's just shapes and nothing that makes any sense, really.
And we'll just jump in, the next picture, the front view, which is a really cool shape. And the first picture again, it's just kind of shaped. It's a concept without development, and clearly decided to be a mistake very early on.
Let us know what you guys think about the Cleave ship in the comments down below. Any of our theories hold water? Do you think it could be part of the sarcophagus ship, like an auxiliary craft, or do you think it's part of the ancient fleet? Let us know what you guys think, and let us know your thoughts. Very interested in hearing them, so by all means do that. Also, if you want to join the conversation, so to speak, head on over to the Facebook group. All of our social media, we have a great community that has great conversations about ships and tech and other great stuff, so by all means do that. And don't forget to click the notification icon, the like icon, or the like thumbs up, I guess, and the subscribe button so you don't miss anything else that we do, because we love talking about ships. And this one's been on the docket for a while, but we finally got to it.
And we love, being able to provide new renders, new scales, give you a new perspective on these things, and ask those questions and just dissect it as, I think lots of you have done in your, front rooms with friends. You're like, what on earth is that about? And here we are doing it for you on the internet with pretty images. Which if you want to support this conversation and others, go onto Patreon, the monthly donation service. Every little bit of donation helps because it's a backbone of what we do. Without that support, we can't keep doing, and then the show will just have to end, and that would be a shame because no one wants it to end. We don't, you don't, none of you. You know, we're those friends that talk Trek and ships and all these new shows. Gosh, I mean, so much to do, so little time. So support if you can, or join our lives every single week and support via that just by joining, sharing, liking, subscribing while on the chat, because hey, maybe convince you while we're there, and donate at the same time. Yeah,
that's right. So until next time, guys, and another great episode of Trekyards, hopefully. I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Connor Combs. Bye, guys.
See you later.